Welcome to the Organic Matrix, the life guide in your pocket. Are you tired of carrying the weight of past pain and feeling disconnected from your true self? Do you long for a profound transformation that will set you on a path of personal evolution? Well, you're not alone. In fact, many of us find ourselves trapped in the clutches of pain and separation, yearning for a way out. But fear not, because in today's episode of the Organic Matrix, we have a remarkable guest who will guide you through the journey of dissolving pain and embracing a new reality. I'm thrilled to introduce you to Antonia, a transformative healer and visionary who has dedicated her life to helping individuals like you break free from the chains of pain and find true connection. Antonia's profound insights and unique approach to healing will serve as a compass on your journey through the matrix. She invites you to embark on an uncomfortable yet magical exploration where you'll discover the alchemy of awareness and the transmutation of pain into love and light. This is an opportunity to dissolve the layers of trauma and rediscover your innate creativity and interconnectedness with all. As you listen to Antonia's wisdom and guidance, you'll gain the tools and understanding needed to navigate your own path of personal evolution. This episode is an invitation to dive deep into the depths of your being, confront your pain, and emerge stronger, more aligned, and ready to embrace the next reality. So, dear listeners, buckle up and get ready for an extraordinary conversation that will challenge your perspective and inspire you to grow and ignite a profound shift within. Looking for career advice, personal development tips, or inspiring stories? Our Matrix Mentors has you covered. Don't miss out. Bookmark our podcast and follow us on social media for a life guide in your pocket. Antonia, welcome to the Organic Matrix.
Thanks so much. So lovely to be here. And your intro was so inspiring already, eh?
Thank you. Can you share with us your story on how you found your way of serving people today?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to serve, but it went through an enormous shift in about 2006. And I went through and experienced this really tumultuous transformation, and it came on quite spontaneously, quite suddenly. What I found was suddenly there was a lot of energy moving through my body. And as a result, almost weekly, daily, I started just to release pain. Fear, shame, rage started to come out of my body constantly. And it's still doing so 16, 17 years later. So, what happened is that how I wanted to serve shifted dramatically. And where I used to work was in international development and in health promotion and community health, human rights. And what that shifted to was to understand that the reason I was out there trying to rescue the world is because I myself so desperately wanted to be rescued. There was so much within me that was hurting. And so I thought that if I could go out there and rescue everything out there, that I would feel better. But really, it was the pain I was holding in my own body that needed to be seen and needed to be healed. And so my journey was moved from trying to save the world in international development and quickly went into psychotherapy and then the energetics that came out of that. Because as I healed myself, I was able to connect not only to the energies within my own body, but then to allow myself to connect to the people I was working with.
Zencaster is truly an all-in-one platform for podcasters. If you're interested in starting a podcast or you already have one, this is a great message for you. I had to pay separate subscriptions for transcripts, video editing, and content distribution. But Zencaster combines all of these features, saving me so much time on editing and producing. Now I can focus more on what I love the most, interviewing my amazing guests. With Zencaster's 4K video streaming and advanced AI tools, you don't need fancy equipment to get high quality recordings. Plus, it's super convenient to get captions, short clips, and transcripts all in one place, eliminating the hassle of uploading and downloading between editing multiple times. What I love the most is how Zencaster helps me monetize my podcast as well, through their partner program, connecting with ads and brands for collaboration. If you're a podcaster looking to streamline your workflow and monetize your passion, I highly recommend Zencaster. Check it out today. Send us a DM or check out the description below for the link. That's incredible that you started to find yourself. As these pain points started rising with you, what did you do with the energy that was revealing itself?
There's really not much to do. And in fact, the whole journey is to let go of the doing. The pain wants us to do, right? It wants us to run and fight and fix and problem solve. And when we let go of we start to let go of the pain, we start to let go of the problem solving and all of the doing, and we slip into the being. And in the being, there's a flow. We just start to move with what we're supposed to do on this journey. So it really is not doing so much and letting go and sort of following whatever showed up in front of me. And sometimes it scared me because there's still pain in there going, what are you doing? We're not in control here. Why aren't we problem solving? But there's enough, and it starts to grow this sense of flow and this energy that moves into the being, into consciousness, that you really feel yourself propelled along the journey you are, quote unquote, meant to be. I mean, it's all meant to be, but you feel more of a connected sense.
That sounds so liberating already.
It is. It is a freedom. You free yourself from your own pain stories, right?
Yeah.
hmm
Can you share a bit can you share a bit more about your personal journey of discovering the alchemy of awareness and how it led to your current path of helping others dissolve their pain?
So, as I said, it is just about being, and being is a state of awareness. Pain is not aware. Pain is very, very limited. It doesn't see anything but its own needs. So, when we step into states of awareness, we see the pain and what it's trying to do instead of be the pain. And in that state of awareness, then we start to connect to things other than the pain. And we start to see the bigger story. So when I start working with clients, really what I do both energetically and in conscious conversation is to try to get them to see the pain versus be the pain. So they start to see the pain as a story that they're in. They become aware of the pain itself and what the objectives of the pain are, which usually are in contrast to the objectives of ourselves, their highest selves, their capital S selves. So if we bring in awareness, and we go, can you see what the pain is asking you to do? Can you see the story, the perspective, the goals of pain, and how it's kept you spinning? That awareness, literally, when I ask them to see, and I can bring in both the energy and conversationally the awareness, literally the pain starts to dislodge energetically. It literally separates from the being, and it starts to move through. We start to detox when we just bring in the seeing of the story versus believing the pain story itself.
Well, I love that. And it kind of reminds me of like CBT. Um,
Yeah, it is. It's CBT, the mindfulness, which goes into we've got to become observers versus unwitting participants in the drama.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's like the only way that we get real control. Like it's funny that when we're in a state of fight or flight a lot in our lives, like the idea of taking on more responsibility for what's going on scares us, but it's like the secret to being in control again, like where we could take responsibility for what we have part in. That's where we could start moving forward because all we can control is ourselves.
I think that's bang on. I think the whole idea of control needs to be thrown out, except for what's going on in this part of the world, this little bit of real estate. This is what I have control over. This is what I have to take responsibility for. I have to own all of this in here in order to free myself from the need for control out there.
Yes, I want to ask you like a philosophical question. Why do you think in all of our human instincts, like we have these territorial desire for control, and like we see it in our political forces, we see it in global wars, we see it in our history. Why are we so obsessed with control if we can have anything that we want with the abundance of food and shelter that we have?
You have another hour? Like that alone is a beautiful hour of a conversation over a martini. So I think it's all fear. At the root of all of it, I humbly going to say it's fear. In fact, I think fear is at the root of all shame and rage and grief and guilt and jealousy and disgust. It's all fear. Fear is the foundational element in the state of separation. So, what we're most afraid of is each other. because for thousands of years we've been treating each other pretty horrifically. And I think that we move that terror of each other forward through the generations. And I believe we've been carrying around thousands of years now in our bodies. We've inherited through intergenerational trauma, epigenetics, past lives, that we've been carrying that terror of each other right through into present moment. So I don't think anything's actually happening, except we're still carrying the terror of each other. Now, control is one of those ways that we want to try and manage the fear and control the enemy, which is other humans. Right? So, to try and make some sense out of the chaos and disorder of fear, which I do believe is the human condition, the human 3D condition, that is not who we are in essence, but that is the state that we are in and that we're holding in our bodies. In order to manage it, control is one of the tools.
I think you're spot on with fear. Like when I really think about it, like when I think about control, it's like anxiety, like we're anticipating something going wrong or that makes so much sense to me. So now my next question is how can we start learning how to manage our fears?
There is no managing, there is seeing. And I think that that is one of the number one challenges, especially here in North America, what we might call Western cultures, is that we want to manage and control. What we want to do is see. We want to bring awareness to the fact that we are holding fear. If we accept the fact that our bodies are holding that much fear and rage and shame, and we allow ourselves to see it and witness it, that in and of itself, to acknowledge that it's there, starts to transform it. Because then it's not sort of operating us behind the scenes. We're not sort of unwitting puppets to our fears' motives. So the moment we start to go, that's fear, right? So if we're raging at somebody and we sit down and get quiet after the rage has moved through and we go, that actually is fear. I'm actually afraid of them judging me, rejecting me, taking away something from me, right? If we acknowledge the fear, we get access to it. And then we start to learn to sit with the fear. And being with the fear in pure presence, non-judgment, acceptance starts to transform it. Now, that's not easy. We need to do some work to learn how to get in there. And if we're carrying around thousands of years of layers of it, that's hard work, which is why this is such an amazing time, because there's wonderful energies coming in to help us get in there and see the fear and the stuff in a new way. But really, it's just seeing it, pure acceptance and non-judgment, and that alone energetically and emotionally starts to transform it.
Oh, thank you so much. This sounds like a shamanistic journey already, like because of the mirror within ourselves, looking within ourselves.
Bingo.
I love how you describe it because you open up a world where it's the comfortable conversation around self-talk, shadow work, doing
Bingo.
the hard stuff.
Absolutely. And I think one of my goals is to make the uncomfortable stuff more comfortable because that is the potential, right? To actually transform fear and bring it into the party and go, actually, you're seen and loved and everything's okay. The potential within that fear is enormous. The wisdom, the love, the learning that comes from that's buried within the fear, the abandoned little fear within us, when we start to say it's safe to come out now, there's a whole new reality of connection that opens up. We get a bigger view of what's going on and why we're here, and actually we're much safer than we think we are.
Oh, you just gave me like such a good download. Like now I have to write this down. Like I'm like I have to ask somebody like what would you do if you had no fear?
What a fabulous thought experiment. And I don't know if our minds can actually conceive of it yet, because I think that we perceive through so many layers and layers and layers and layers of fear that we aren't even aware of what it's like to live without the fear. It's like we have so many layers of fear that we are not aware yet of how to love. I just think we're just not even close to recognizing how much love is there, because we're so used to the layers and layers and layers of trauma in between us and love, that love is just not something most of us have experienced yet to its full potential. I think actually would probably blow us apart because it's so powerful. It would shatter us at the moment. So we have to work our way up to that powerful state of love.
Oh, I love how you say that. And it makes so much sense to me in like spiritual ways and physical ways. And like the first, like a couple of times, what came up for me was how I think probably like my generation's like the last generation to not have gentle parenting. So like my parenting was my parents, well, not only one of my parents thought that if they could scare me away from danger, that I would somehow grow up to be a safe, responsible person. If anything, I became attracted to danger because I'm like, what are you hiding from me? There's no transparency here. There's no lesson. It's just like you put a fence and now I want to see what's over the fence. And I
Yeah.
saw what's over the fence and I was like, you could have just told me. And then like the rejection too, like I'm probably one of the last generations that got the belt, as the disciplinary
Mhm.
punishment. And so it's like that teaches me that love and fear are combined, that love is not unconditional because if I do something that will like displease my parent, then I can face physical harm, physical
Yeah.
pain and
Which is a withdrawal
humiliation.
of love.
Right.
Yeah. And safety, right? Love
Hmm.
and safety then get really, yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of people walk around carrying these kind of parental wounds. Where do we start healing those? And including people who don't have access to their parents. So people who have their parents passed away.
Yeah.
My mom passed away a couple of years ago. And I always say on her anniversary of her death, and I'm like, dude, can I say I miss you? And does that make me a bad person? Because I feel more liberated without the fear of rejection that she gave me on this planet. So for our Matrix members here that deal with that nasty knot of emotions from closure that they can't obtain, can you give us some advice for this?
Yeah. I hesitate to use the word advice, but I'm going to try and crack it open a little bit and sort of maybe reveal possibilities. So, one is there's no such thing as being a bad person, really. We're holding stuff that's uncomfortable. So if you're feeling feelings about people you're supposed to be loving, look at them and examine them and see what they're revealing about your journey. See if there's something within you that needs to be seen that you've ignored, but to see it without judgment. And number two is family members are amazing sources of revealing our BS in our bodies. So, right? Our feelings about our family are really about where I'm holding fear, shame, rage in me. Where am I holding places I'm not in full acceptance? And it could be really difficult to get to acceptance of a parent who maybe brought fear or taught us to be fearful. But then we're here to use every bit of discomfort in order to reveal a bigger truth. And I do think that that's the lesson that we're in right now is to go, we've had thousands of years of pain landing in our lap right now because all that pain is buried potential. It is so much energy in that. So if we can see that I inherited some fear story from my ancestors and now it's in my body and now it's my responsibility, it's just fear, not the story attached with it, not even the deliverer of it, but I can just see the potential of the fear in my body and I'm going to get in there in the thousand ways I can to transform that into love, then that's what I'm here for. So it's really not about mom and dad, except for what they're revealing. And they reveal lots of fear and the shame and the rage. So let them reveal it, but then it's your job to go in there just in fear, shame, and rage, not the source, not the story, and see if you can start to release yourself of that story. Because you can't carry it forward. You can't carry it into a higher reality. So you might as well transform it here and now.
Can you give us some examples of how we can transform it? Sometimes does it look like writing a book or
So, like writing a book. So, how to transform it is just to bring in pure awareness. And we find pure awareness, those sources are in silence. And we need to find lots of ways of bringing in the silence. Now, subtle energies, like there's so many people working at the subtle energy level, is a deliverer of awareness, silence, consciousness. They're all the same thing. Meditation is a deliverer of silence, awareness, consciousness. So I think daily meditation is an absolute must if you're trying to transform. You have to bring in the energies of seeing, acceptance, awareness, so they can start to permeate the denser energies of fear, shame, and rage. They're a higher energy that you want to get in there and infuse in the densities, right? In the contracted pain and trauma. Going and meditating in a group enhances that, right? It enlarges exponentially the energy that's going to permeate in your being. I love silent retreats. I lead silent retreats so that we can just blow up the energies and bring them in big ways, which create big transformations. It's big awareness. I think plant medicine is a growing tool for cracking open awareness, bringing in the energies, healing energies of consciousness. So I think that all these and many, many other ways, your local energy healer is a wonderful way. Like go get some Reiki if there's somebody who's really shamanic work is growing. So there's lots of ways of bringing the higher transformative energies of awareness, love, consciousness into those contracted states of pain in our body.
Oh, I love that you mentioned silent retreats. When I
Yeah, my
always wanted to
favorite.
go.
Oh, really? Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Magic.
Can you give us a little bit of insight on your experience at a silent retreat?
So I try to go to one a year at least, sometimes two, depending on how much work is going on. And I love to lead them at least one a year. COVID kind of messed that up a little bit, threw us out of a rhythm. Probably needs to throw us out of a rhythm. Might need a little shake up there. Um, but the meditation retreats that I lead they include intense meditation, which is 3 hours a day of meditation, movement, because when you get energy in there, it starts to stir the stories. We want to get yoga so we can start to purge the stories. But essentially, silent meditation and intense silent meditation and plant medicine can have the same effect because it's all consciousness coming in. So when I lead silent meditation, it's basically everybody momentarily learning to put their stories aside, and I help them intensify the energy coming in. The stories start to come to the surface. Usually there's a few days of freaking out as the fear, shame, rage starts to surface, and everybody loses their mind a little bit, which we want you to lose your mind. And literally there's a transmutation and then a purging, and you end up at a new level. And then they go home and they get back into their busy jobs, and sometimes ego rebuilds itself, which is why we need to understand if we want to create sustainable change, we need to create sustainable silence. But there's a whole level of awareness that arrives when we take that pause from the busyness and we get to have a meta perspective. We sit in a higher frequency and we can see the landscape a bit better. We bring in some kindness, some more, and some love and some presence, which are all necessary elements of change.
Yes. Oh, I really want to go to your next retreat. That would be amazing.
You are so invited.
Matrix members, let's go together. Let's sign up for this retreat. I love that we brought up love again because there's another great point that you mentioned earlier. And it's like, do we all really know what it's like to truly be loved? And I think that's where a lot of this fear gets out of control. Because if we really met ourselves with compassion, we wouldn't hide the parts of us that need the most healing. And when I think of that, if I think of like the people that need the most healing is like people went through trauma at a young age and may fall into the habits, like a pattern of being someone that causes trauma to someone else because it's unresolved and they like escape finding help because they don't want to admit that this happened and that they're dealing with these thoughts. And I think about if we had more self-love and we actually taught what that looked like, because some people think like, oh, it's self-care, like I just got a $600 facial, and sometimes it doesn't have to be like that. Sometimes self-love is spending 30 minutes sitting with yourself, like letting your thoughts show you what's in your subconscious. So how do you think that we can take a little bit of time each day to teach us to reinvent what love means to us so that we can have more compassion for ourselves and others?
I think you just said it. We need to take time every day so we can start to explore what love and self compassion is. And we need that space so we can settle the doing and move into the loving state of being. Because love is just presence. There's nothing to do with love. There's nothing to perform. There's nowhere to go. Nothing to fix. Nothing to judge then. It's just pure presence, acceptance, seeing everything as it is and not needing to kick out anything. So to find 30 minutes a day to just sit in that space is what we want to practice doing. How do I connect with myself and begin to open up to seeing anything that shows up and be with it with love? And that is so challenging because people think they're doing it, and then there's a sneaky little voice that comes in and goes, "Oh, but that was ridiculous. I can't believe I thought or said that," right? And we don't see that because that's how sneaky ego, how sneaky pain stories are. They come in and they are camouflaged, and we think that's still love. And we're going, "No, do you see? Like, you just invited in a whole other pain story into your acceptance." So I think there's lots of new ways that we need some assistance to help us walk that path, to bring in the language and the awareness about what self-love and self-compassion is versus self-care. And self-care is, yeah, a whole different conversation. But yeah, to bring in that presence, to go, I'm going to accept whatever it is a whole other shift. Whatever happens, I'm going to accept it. It doesn't mean we don't want to take responsibility for it, but we're going to go, you're here. I know you're here. I'm not going to deny you're here. This is really uncomfortable. And I'm going to make that okay so that we can move to the next level.
Thank you. I love your advice. And I love that it's something that we could all take home and do. So, Matrix members.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some great books out there more on like self-compassion. Dr. Kristen Neff is a leader in that. So grab some
Mm.
book on self-compassion. She comes from kind of a Buddhist framework, which is a lovely philosophy on seeing self, being present with self. Grab some books and start diving into the language and the concepts and some practices.
Oh, that sounds like such a fun challenge. Matrix
Mm-hmm.
members, I would love to invite you to find a book that you can use to dive into getting to know yourself and building that self love. When you find that book, I want you to tag me and Antonia on social media and show us what you're studying to feed your soul.
Nice challenge.
Thank you. What role does creativity play in the process of dissolving pain? And how can individuals reconnect with their creative essence as they embark on this journey?
I'm going to be, like an old record here. And that is, it's a couple things. One is space and right brain activities, right? So just even creative activities, which are states of being, which are like, I love to go to classes for painting and drawing, and meditation is a right brained activity, right? So those are wonderful ways to access right brain, which is more of the being and less of the doing. But the more you do nothing, the more you move into intuitive flow, and that is naturally creative. Pain is naturally destructive and contracting. So we need to bring in the other energies of creativity, which encourages more creativity. So the more we enter spaces of just letting go, the silent retreats, the meditations, extensive, not 5 minutes a day. I think we're fooling ourselves if we think 5 minutes a day does much these days. It just doesn't. It takes me half an hour in the morning just to get my mind quiet, let alone really suck up the good consciousness. So stepping into the nothingness allows creative flow. And we're so antsy with anxiety, we think that something bad is happening, but we need to work to a place where we can settle I got to go do something, to shift states, and then that creative energy flows. And we allow the energy then to move us to more creative spaces where we're actually expanding versus sitting in contracted pain states. We want to bring that energy in, and we'll automatically create.
I love that. And it makes me think about alpha states. Tony Robbins talks about it a lot. And like
Right.
how our body language. I love that you talk about recoiling. And then when I think about everything in life that recoils, even our DNA, when we're in fear, I think there's been a recent study that our DNA will like coil. Um, and
Yes.
then we're in states of creativity, it will expand.
Correct.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think about being like this, it feels so constrictive. It's just to open up and be receiver and actually create. That's our birthright. I love
Correct.
that you promote that in your teachings.
Hmm.
Can you share any stories of examples of peoples you've coached that you've witnessed profound shifts through your guidance and teachings?
Ethically, I can't share individual stories because I have to protect confidentiality, but they happen all the time. Uh, They happen when people are ready. So they're not in fight or flight. There is a receptivity. And I've seen many, 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 many times when somebody I'm working with, they've literally released a big giant story and then off they go and their life moves along a new trajectory. It could be anything from, I work with somebody for a number of months or a year and suddenly they need to have a career change and they move from working in, for example, the more, I'm afraid of how to say this, I don't know, they move in the more contracted fields like banking and tech. And, those are sort of more working in the material realm and they start moving in the more of the holistic or energetic fields, right? They move in service. I've seen people suddenly shift their perspectives on life. I see them start to understand themselves more and understand that how they want to work with themselves needs to change drastically. So they move from trying to fix their family members to understanding, no, I get it. It's all about me. I see people's a health change. So when we start to release emotional pain stories, physical health is automatically going to start to improve, right? Because it's all contracted states that affect all levels of the being, physical, emotional, mental, and energetic. So it all depends, but when you start to have flow move through somebody's body, it is going to open up in some way and change trajectories and move off in a direction that isn't a higher frequency for them. It's going to look different for different people, but it's always going to look some higher manifestation. Doesn't mean they're not going to have struggles, more struggles coming down because we got so many stories, thousands of years of stories that we're really trying to look at in the DNA. But we keep moving when we start to really release pain stories out of the body, one after another, 10, 20, 30, 100, doesn't matter. Then we start to move off in different directions, greater creative directions.
Thank you. And yeah, this is a lifelong journey. I could see.
Many lifelong journeys is what I believe. Many, 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 which I can tell you all the pain that I've been releasing for the last 16 years is not about this lifetime. That was gone 14 years ago. This is all about, pain that's been coming out of places, pain that I never would have experienced in this lifetime. I have memories of being in battle and having my children die, and I don't have children. I have memories of having, throat cut and burnt alive. These are things we've been doing for thousands of years. These things have been coming through for years and years. These are big, big traumas. So I don't think everybody needs to be doing that. But I do see that we are holding things that have nothing to do with this life. And I would suggest that most of the pain, even in childhood, are really just stories that we've been playing out for thousands of years now coming in this life that maybe this is the life now we're finally going to resolve this flavor of fear or this flavor of shame or these many flavors of rage. So, and they're going to show up in our family dynamic, but we've been looking at it for maybe generations, for lifetimes beforehand. Did that make sense?
Yes, yes. That makes tons of sense because I see it today and I'm not going to get into too much detail because it's a touchy topic, but I see that with racism and inherited perspectives of
Bingo.
racism, like generational racism that might have started from a bad experience with one member of that race, but it doesn't define the entire people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see that this generational trauma healing is going to benefit those kind of wars, like
Mm-hmm.
the black versus white, like if there's no other color in between, and like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
wait for us to ascend past that because we're all human. We have
Yeah,
so much work to do.
we have a lot of work to do. I just think that that all of that work, like everybody's so afraid of all the work, and I'm just so excited about
Yeah.
it. Like we're in a lot of pain, and what I see in all that pain is, oh my God, there's so much potential. Look what that can become, right? We just take like 20% of the planet, which it's growing, that are on this magnificent journey of going, this is not working. I got to love the crap out of that so that we can join the whole. That is a huge amount of potential and an enormous shift. So I'm kind of like very excited to get in there into these stories and turn them into the wisdom that's really buried underneath them.
Oh, thank you so much for being a warrior of the light.
You're just darling.
For someone who's interested in working with you, what can they expect from a one-on-one healing session or online modules? And how can these offerings support their journey in dissolving pain?
So the so one on one right now, I can't do one on one anymore. The wait list is too long, so I've sort of had to stop that. But I actually think there's greater potential in group work, because when we come together with that intention of bringing love, consciousness, awareness, healing together, then whew, it turns into a love bomb, and the potential for transformation is enormous. So that's where I think the work is. So that's the potential, is we come together and we infuse the space with just the transformative power of awareness, of just being willing to sit and see and allow the alchemy of consciousness to take over. The modules and any other work that I do in presenting or teaching are really about three things. One is I want to activate the seeing of the pain stories, which is what the third dimension is. I want us to go, do you see? Can you see the fact that this is pain and not truth? That's number one. And that's largely what the modules are. Are you aware? Can you become aware of what the role of consciousness is? Can you start to see ego, which is a pain infrastructure and it is very individualistic? Can you start to see what mind's goal is? Can you start to see the dynamic and the meta story of the world? So it's really to activate a seeing of the third dimension versus being in it and not being even aware that you're in a walking dream state. And another is to enable. I really want to enable people in walking a path of vigilance and awareness, right? So I think these are, let's say those are the two primary. And the third one would be more, I want to expedite. Let's see if we can move your journey forward a little bit faster by bringing in, how do I shake a little bit more awareness in here? Maybe you're on the journey and I can just throw a little bit of consciousness this way, which is why I go see, other teachers and healers and other people on their journey, so they can bring awareness to me, stuff that I haven't seen, help me see some more. So these are sort of the three things I really want to bring people into, is see it and how do we move it forward even more on this journey, this expansive journey into consciousness and love. Modules do that, retreats do that, conversations, teachings, all of that are here to do that.
If we're interested in working with you, joining your group, or going to one of your retreats, what's the best way for us to find your schedule?
So everything is on the website, which is tribetocollective.com. Retreats are announced there. There's ways of contacting me through email. Retreats are finished scheduling for this year. There might be some more at the end of next year. But if you're interested, then there'll be a list and I can notify people if they want to join retreats. Modules are, you can access the modules through that site as well, et cetera, et cetera. So everything's going to be through there, and a book announcement. All of that's through there.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see the website and to sign up on the wait list for the book. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about the book or leave it as a surprise?
Well, the book is basically a lot of what we're talking about. The book's called Dismantling the Third Dimension. In the third dimension, I state as a camouflage pain state, which is a dream state. So it's really finding our way of bringing in awareness, consciousness, healing in creative ways, ways beyond what our mind really understands, in order to transform those gazillion pain stories into higher frequencies of love and compassion and acceptance, so that we move ourselves into the next dimension, the next reality, whatever that may be. I really don't know much about that. I leave other people to, to determine what that new reality is. I'm just here to release ourselves of the anchors to this one.
Oh my gosh, I feel like you're saving a lot of people from getting stuck in personal hell.
You know, it's lovely to think. I don't know if I could save anybody, but I'm sure here, if somebody's here to release themselves of their own hell, because this is a little bit of a hell. And if we see it and accept it as that, then we can get motivated to go, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. What do I got to do? Which was really a lot of my journey. I don't want to sit in this anymore. I got to get this out.
Yes, and I think I really appreciate your work. This is what our soul needs. A lot of us need that. I can think of thousands of people who need your book.
Right back at you. I think it's great just having this conversation and having more of these conversations, I think, serve the collective.
I agree. Can you tell the audience what your social media handles are so that if they practice some of the suggestions we've done today that they could follow your journey as well?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok at Antonia D3D, and Instagram is dismantling underscore the third underscore dimension. And there's another one, which is I just have a podcast, which is just reflections. I just throw reflections. There are people that I work with that I thought they would be served by bringing in a new reflection. So I threw it on a podcast. So the podcast is called Dismantling the Third Dimension as well. So it's just there every few weeks. I throw in whatever comes to mind. Anybody wants to dive into reflection, it's there.
Oh, that's so exciting. I can't wait to subscribe to your podcast and learn more from your beautiful insights. As we get to our closing of our podcast episode, are there any words of wisdom you'd like to leave our audience?
Um, I'm going to fall back to well, number one, feel it but don't believe it. Yeah. And number two is go get quiet so that feeling it and not believing it continues to get a little bit easier.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Thank you so much. I'm going to hold that close to me.
That's a joy. That's great.
Antonia wants to invite you to start the process of healing and expansion for the journey into the next reality. Check out her website, www.tribe2collective.com. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey with Antonia, where we explored the power of dissolving pain and separation to embrace the next reality. Through deep seeing and awareness, Antonia guides individuals to release the layers of pain and hinder their personal evolution. By reconnecting with their creativity and the collective, they can step into a new dimension of being. As we conclude this episode, we encourage you to take insights and wisdom shared and apply them to your own journey through the matrix. Embrace the alchemy of awareness and transmute pain into love and darkness into light. Remember, you have the power to dissolve the barriers that hold you back and step into the reality of expansion. If you resonated with her message and want to explore further, be sure to connect with her and discover the transformative offerings she provides. Reach out to her through her website or social media to learn more about her healing sessions, online modules, workshops, and retreats. Allow yourself the experience for profound shifts that await you on this path of disillusion and connection. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Organic Matrix, the life guide in your pocket for empowering conversations and insights to support your journey of personal growth and transformation. Together, we can continue to navigate the matrix and unlock limitless potential. Take care, Matrix members, and we'll be seeing you on the next download.